What are we even talking about, man? We talking about sports here.
To the second quarter, changing gears, changing sports. Like I said in the introduction, you guys were with us during the live draft podcast. That was our last live podcast that we did. We went live with y'all for the 2022 NFL draft. We stayed with y'all through much of the first quarter. For those of you guys that are watching on YouTube and Facebook, we got the results up there for the first round. Trayvon Walker from Georgia. He was a guy who sprung up the draft boards late in the process because of his measurables and his 40 time and all of that good stuff that you track at the NFL Combine. He usurped Aiden Hutchinson, who was supposed to be the number one pick. He ended up falling down to Detroit at number 2. Real quick, I'm not going to get into all of the picks here, all 31 first round draft picks. Ron and Justin, let's just break it down to the top 10 here because I have a couple of questions. But for the top 10, what did you guys like? What pops off the screen to you guys? Or
top 10?
Yeah, top 10 or just the draft in general, the first round. Who's like the most?
Oh shit, man, Philly, easy. I think Philly had a hell of a draft. They did really well, and then the trade heard around the world. Tennessee, I mean, it wasn't something draft pick wise, but I think they did extremely well also. But I hate to say Philly because they're in the NFC East with our beloved Cowboys. And speaking of the Cowboys, I didn't love the pick, man. I know I'm kind of just going in on here, but I top 10, but I'm going on here and as soon as they picked the man, I mean, you hear the dude is bad, gets a lot of penalties, needs a lot of coaching. So I didn't love the Cowboys pick, not only because of the player, but because there was so many studs left on the defensive end. And I know we did well on defense last year, but why not give Dan Quinn another weapon, man? Let's have a defense like when Peyton Manning was with the Broncos and Von Miller and that defense won them the Super Bowl. Why can't we just do that? Mediocre offense, but exceptional defense. I think we had an opportunity to do that, and we totally whiffed with this pick. Obviously, offensive lineman was a necessity, but if he wasn't one of the top offensive linemen, I mean, maybe we could have got lucky in some trades later on.
Were you disappointed that the Cowboys didn't trade up? Because there was talks of us trading up and maybe getting a receiver or getting one of the splash names that are sprinkled up at the top of the draft board.
I really didn't mind it. I don't mind saving some money. Maybe late that way we can get a player later on in the season. Jerry Jones is very, you really don't know what he's gonna do.
Yeah.
So
he talks a lot.
Yeah, but I'm kind of glad that he didn't do anything because some of his moves aren't the best. Obviously, we got really lucky with Micah Parsons, but I wouldn't trust Jerry. I'd rather him just chill and not spend the money or doing something crazy in the first round.
I like that, and I like that you called out the Eagles as your favorite draft performance, I guess, of the first round and the draft in general. They were one of my top picks. I really liked the trade going up and getting Jordan Davis at number 13, and then going and getting AJ Brown for Jalen Hurts. I thought those were all big moves that were made. Justin. Who's your favorite team in the first round and then the draft, and then maybe talk a little bit about what you think about what the Cowboys did.
Favorite team draft-wise had to be the Jets. I think they did the most with their picks, as they usually do. And you see what happens. They don't use them to their advantage. They end up on other teams. That happens to the Jets, but I think they had the best draft night. Now, draft overall, as a whole, I would have to give it to the Eagles as well. Picking up Jordan Davis, getting a Kobe Dean in the third. Sure, he has some health issues to get over, but I think they did the best as far as the whole draft goes, as far as the Eagles do. And the Cowboys, man, no assurance as a fan now. These past few drafts, I always felt pretty good. Michael Parsons pick, I was like, well, we wanted someone else, but we got Parsons. We knew what he could be if he lived up to his potential. Sure enough, he did. The only thing I can look at is what was picked after 24. I see the name Devin Lloyd on there. Man, that would have been a nice addition. Another linebacker who can move, 60 yards, as they say, sideline to sideline, very well. He's pretty fast from Utah. That would have been a nice addition because I know Van Der Esch is probably on his way out. I don't think we're going to re-sign him to another contract. So that would have been a nice pickup. The only name that I do like out of everything the Cowboys drafted is Sam Williams, the edge from Ole Miss.
Yeah,
I saw him. He's pretty good. Has a big motor. Size wise, he's all the physical traits, they all line up. But other than that, man, there's just no hope with this draft. I'm so upset, man. It's hard being a Cowboys fan. Like, I keep looking at all the things they do wrong against me, and it's just starting to add up. And I don't know, man. I absolutely hate this draft. Tyler Smith, I think that's a waste of a pick. Honestly, I hate it, man. I don't know.
All right,
I don't know what the fuck they were doing.
So, I'm in the dumps when it comes to the Cowboys. I'm in the slums right now. There's no optimism. I hate to be the guy, but it's just.
I'll echo some of your sentiments, and I'm disappointed in the Cowboys' lack of action. I would have liked to see them trade up, no matter what it would have taken, because it would have just shown that they're trying to do something. Because to me, that they haven't addressed any of their needs. The only, I guess, offseason news that you hear about the Cowboys, other than the draft, is who they're letting go, or who they're trading away, or who signed somewhere else. That's been the most disappointing. So that's why with this draft, to me, there's a lot of holes for the Cowboys to fill. They had to fill a receiver because you can't go into the season with the receiver core that we have. So we had to draft a receiver. The offensive line, we lost some guys. Tyler Smith, I'm not going to completely crap on him. I know he has some issues with penalties, and he's not the best pass blocker, but he can move some guys. He can run block. He's a big dude. I also don't think we're going to ask him to play left tackle right away because, we still got Tyron Smith. Probably try him out on the right side or try him out at guard.
We got Terrence Steele at the other tackle, so guard makes more sense.
Try him out at guard. So I'm going to give him a little bit of a pass there. Like Justin and Ron both said, though, there were a lot of studs on the board, so it made that pick a little tough to swallow. But I do like Sam Williams, big production. Alluded to his motor. He did have the stats to match that. He got close to 13 sacks last year. He ended it with 12.5 for Ole Miss. And the one that I'm a little iffy about, and it was, to me, I'm an offensive guy. I like the receivers. I want the shiny toys that the receivers are out there. I was excited when we drafted Des Bryant. I was excited when we drafted CeeDee Lamb. I still remember those drafts. I still remember how excited I was for both of those players. Jalen Tolbert, South Alabama. I had to be honest, I hadn't seen any of him. I hadn't watched a single South Alabama game. I had to go
Jaguars from South Alabama.
I had to go watch some YouTube on him. He's a good route runner. The only thing that occurs to me is he's gonna have to step in right away. That's the thing with these draft picks is why they're so important, is because the Cowboys can't miss on these, because these guys are going to have to go in and contribute right away because the holes that we currently have on our team. So the first two I'm fine with. Jalen Tolbert, I hope he can come in and produce, because CeeDee Lamb can't be the only guy that we're throwing out there. Michael Gallup is so hurt. We lost Cedric Wilson. So receiver was a big position for me this year, and I'm a little sad that they didn't try and get like a guy like Burks from Arkansas, who went 18 to Tennessee, or maybe even trading up even further and getting a big splash name. But that's just me. My favorite draft out of everybody, I'm going to have to jump on Justin's bandwagon here as far as the Jets. I really liked what they did. They got Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson. I knew Justin was going to pick Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave as his favorite draft performance because of his Ohio State ties, but really like what the Jets did there, and can't forget the Eagles. They did a good job with their draft. My question for you guys, though, what do y'all think about the quarterback slides? Kenny Pickett, Malik Wilson. Kenny Pickett ended up being the only quarterback drafted in the first round at number 20 to the Steelers. Are you guys surprised that only one quarterback was taken in the first round, or were you expecting that because of the crop of guys that were out there? Justin, what are your thoughts? I saw you shaking your head and just like you expected this to happen.
No, I wasn't surprised that only one, because of the class that it was. I just thought that my sentiment was, if one does pick some others will pick quarterbacks in the first round. They'll follow. They'll get a little aggressive. They'll, I need to get a quarterback too. I think the talent evaluators saw that the quarterbacks are not there and decided, you know what, we will pass. I don't see Kenny Pickett as a number one QB in the NFL. And that was who got drafted first. I like Matt Corral. Unfortunately, he has some issues surrounding on the outside that I think kept him away from being a first round pick. But that was a Heisman candidate for most of the season until he got hurt.
Had production, played in that Ole Miss Lane Kiffin offense. There's a lot of talk about him. He ended up getting drafted where, Justin? Do you know? Did you keep track of that?
I don't know where he ended up. I can look it up for you, though.
I think he ended up in Carolina. That's my first guess. But Ron, what are your thoughts? Were you surprised that only one quarterback was taken? Do you like Kenny Pickett?
Not surprised at all. Just like Justin said, I'm not surprised that Kenny Pickett got took, because if you're the Steelers, I mean, and you're looking at your quarterback, and you're looking at your roster, and you look at the quarterback lineup, you're like, I mean, I ain't got shit, so why not try to bring in Pickett? I mean, dare I say, Ben Roethlisberger didn't get picked, as high as Pickett did, obviously, and look at the career that he had, with the Steelers, took them to the Super Bowl. I'm not saying Kenny Pickett is Ben Roethlisberger at all, but maybe that's their thought process. As far as the quarterback who got drafted to the Titans, there's already controversy there, with Tannehill coming out and saying, like, why do I have to mentor this kid? And you took the biggest weapon away from him. If there is going to be a quarterback battle and, say you insert the rookie late, if you have a bad season, put him in the second half of the season. But you do have Derrick Henry there, to help him and, support him. I mean, he can't, really screw up in handing off the ball to Derrick Henry. So I think the Titans did a hell of a job getting him. I mean, the talent's all there. His ceiling is really, really high. So great job by the Titans. But to answer your question, as far as the quarterbacks, not surprised at all, man. I mean, happy for Pickett. He's still going to have that to his name that he got drafted in the first round. But it's on to next year for the quarterbacks in the draft.
Yeah, and there's some highly touted quarterbacks in that next draft. Just to give my thoughts on this, I was a little surprised that only one went, because this is a quarterback-happy league. I thought, much like Justin, that once maybe one of them went, there'd be a little bit of a run, like what was experienced with the wide receiver position. You got London at 8, and then Garrett Wilson at 10, Olave 11, Jameson Wilson 12. I thought something like that would have happened, but much like you guys, this isn't the best class of quarterbacks. I wish all these guys success, but as far as prospects and where they stack up, definitely don't stack up as high or as nicely compared to some of these other classes. So I'll just leave it at that. Anything else you guys want to cover with the draft in the second quarter?
Yeah, I do have a question for both y'all, and it doesn't have to be elaborate or anything. I just want to know what, as far as a draft grade goes for the Cowboys, I want to see how far of a pessimistic I am about this. What do you give that draft grade-wise?
I mean, it's hard to grade it because, again, you need the guys to play. So I think that's a big
this would be the pre-play draft.
Just looking at it, I'll give them like a C- just because they address needs. Like, they needed help on the offensive line. They freaking Randy Gregory, so they got an edge guy in the second round. Did a receiver, they went out and did that. So they addressed some guys. I like Ridgeway from Arkansas, the defensive tackle that we got in the 5th round. So I'll give him a C+, B- ish. Like, I'll give him like a 78.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with a D. Just the only reason I'm not saying F is because Roland said that they address needs, which is true. If they didn't address the needs, I definitely would have given them an F. But just the fact that they didn't take, I'm a big take the best player available kind of guy, and the fact that they didn't do that, to me, has them down at a D. And oh man, it's just sad. But to their defense, this wasn't, and this kind of goes for the quarterbacks also. It wasn't the most talented draft class coming out of college, either. True. So, I mean, there weren't a lot of studs. There weren't a lot of big names. I mean, even Hutchinson is great, but there were a lot of people who didn't like him, who felt that he had a lot of flaws, and he was number number 2 overall. So when you have your 1 and 2 picks that aren't quarterbacks, first of all, and don't have the highest grade, there wasn't a lot of, big news at the combine. So the draft in itself wasn't very great talent-wise to me, in my opinion. So, but real quick, being from Texas, a lot of other people root for this team. The Texans, shout out to the Texans because they did really, to me, have an impressive draft.
All right.
You like that Derek Stingley Jr. pick?
Yes. Yeah, I did, man. And you see, that's to me where the Cowboys could have gone. Not necessarily him, but I mean, on day 2, the Texans, picked up the receiver, Minchie. They got a linebacker from Alabama as well, Christian Harris, guys who are winners. They come from winning programs. So the names were there. And, Stingley's a great pick. They got a guard to protect, Mills. So shout out to the Texans. Hopefully they do good just because they are from Texas and we got to represent Texas, man.
Well, Justin, what was your grade for the Cowboys? You gave them an F, so you gave them like a 40 or something.
F plus.
I like that.
All right.
I'm not all the way out. I'm still here. It's just frustration airing at this moment.
Good second quarter, boys.
I'm frustrated too. All right, we're not going to have a halftime. We